Welcome to Productive Joy with Dr. Christie, where fun meets action.
Hi, friends. Welcome to Productive Joy. I have a new friend to introduce you to. His name is Croft Edwards, and he is many fantastic things. He is an author. He is a keynote speaker and a founder and a leader and a coach. He's also a veteran and a reservist, and he's the dad to a future pilot. He is a gentleman farmer. He has horses and emus and dogs and cats and a cockatiel, and he really enjoys being outside, and he has a pretty fantastic fish tank behind him that we can watch while we listen. And today he's our guest on Productive Joy. Welcome, Croft.
Well, thank you, Christie. Great to be here.
Yeah, we are going to have some fun today, and people by nature are going to need to get hooked. So what would you say to them in like 30 seconds that would make them go, oh my gosh, yes, this episode is for me?
Well, I think it would be tied to my book, which just came out, which is on the power of the body. And the title of my book is called The Liquid Accordion, but this idea that our body is the vessel, but it's so much more than that. Our brain is part of a limbic system, all of the sensors for the brain and the body. And when we're in joy, it's because our body is picking up the joy. It's creating the joy. So we're going to have fun with that. We can explore that and see where that takes us.
I love it. Well, and I've heard joy is an inside job, and that's really what I just heard you say, right? Like we have a lot more control over that. So you mentioned to me before we hit record that you're a 4 a.m. worker-outer. So
Yes.
You clearly are taking care of yourself, and you recognize the value of a healthy vessel. Have you always been that way, or is that a discovery that you've made later in life?
Well, I had the advantage of 25 years in the Army. So working out early in the morning was, I don't know if it was me or it was that, but I just can't imagine doing it some other way. As I've matured, for lack of a better word, I'm much more religious about my body, my health, because I'm aware that I'm not 25 anymore. And, I can't just, eat whatever and sleep whenever kind of thing. So I'm pretty regimented with my health and my self-care just because of how it, creates my world and how it, serves me going forward.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for your service. I'm so appreciative that you chose to give of yourself that way. And, 25 years is a long time to establish some rhythms and some ways of work. But what I think is special is that you continued it, that you made it your own. A lot of times we do things by default instead of by design. And it's clear that you're taking care of yourself by design, not by default. So somewhere along the way, you figured out that you wanted to take care of yourself. But more importantly, you decided you wanted to help other people do the same. And is that where the liquid accordion came into play?
No, the actual journey of why I kind of ended up on this path actually started when I was 10. And when I was 10 years old, my mom worked for a U.S. senator. And because of that, we ended up at an event at Fort Bliss, Texas one day. It was a summer day and I didn't have anything to do, so she took me along. And the guest of honor was World War II General OAR Bradley. And OAR Bradley was a 5-star general from World War II. And they literally wheeled this little old general in. He would have been in his early 80s, late 80s then. And he had all of his medals in his running car. And there was this, as a 10-year-old kid, I realized there was this reverential clap for him. And he got a clap that nobody else got. And it was, kind of a standing ovation kind of thing. And I just was like, well, that's weird or that's odd. Why? So I convinced my mom to take me to the library to check out his autobiography. And I read an 800-page autobiography at 10 years old, cover to cover. And I didn't realize it at the time, but it piqued in me a fundamental question I've been studying ever since, which is why was he, or any leader for that matter, successful? And then that evolved into what is this thing called leadership? And more specifically, how do you do it? Which if we fast forward on that journey, I ended up doing a lot of work in this idea that we are somatic beings. And soma is Greek for the body and its wholeness. And just the more I started to look and study it, I realized the body was actually the Holy Grail. Because if I shift my body, shift everything, right? So if we think about it, how does Superman stand?
Yeah, definitely.
Superman doesn't stand like this. But more importantly, for instance, in, say, the body or the mood of ambition, shoulders are back, head is up. I see very expansively. And at the same time, as a human being, every one of my vital organs is exposed to danger.
Mm.
But to be in ambition, I'm aware of that. I'm in confidence. I realize, oh, in danger, I could be in danger, and the way to deal with that. I'm going to be fine. So it just, the more I studied it, the more I went, wow, this body is amazing. And so back to that original question, now I could actually start to see leadership. And I could look at bodies and I could go, oh, okay, what's possible as that leader shows up in that long journey, lots of curves and stuff like that. But that's how it kind of started.
I love that. So, I've kind of studied power poses and the idea of how we hold ourselves and how that makes us feel different. Like I can use a Grey's Anatomy reference, but they did that in Grey's Anatomy at one point before surgery, right? But I think what I'm hearing you say is that there's science behind the power, right? Like you can feel it. You can feel it when you decide to put your shoulders back and hold your head up, but it actually is creating in you what you need in order to be both vulnerable and strong. Right? Would you say that those two things are happening simultaneously?
Right. So if you think about if the body can't do it, I can't do it as a human being. So my body cannot fly. I don't have the biology or the structure to do that. Additionally, if my body can't create love, I don't know how to do it. Right. So the body, it's an amazing thing. And again, I think we're just now starting to become aware of it. But the body is the Holy Grail. And if you think about it, so real quick little biology lesson, if you think about what's the fundamental or one of the fundamental building blocks of the body is cells. Well, a cell can really only do two things. It can expand, it can contract. So if you take a bunch of cells the same type, they form a layer, expand, contract. Layers form tubes, expand and contract, things veins, arteries, so on and so forth. Tubes form organs, expand, contract. Heart, gut, lungs, muscles, expand, all that expand. But it's even deeper than that because we are this liquid accordion. What's happening is our brain is part of a limbic system. All of the sensors for the brain are the body. So all of these sensors are picking up data, which tell the body and the brain to go, oh, do this. When we're scared, right, we do this. When we're loving, we do this, right? We have heartache. We feel it in our gut. So it's just so much more than that.
Yeah.
And for that's really what kind of led to the book was mostly for being a coach. I do a lot of mentor coaching. And one of the questions so many of my students have is basically, I don't get it. I don't understand the body. Why? Why do we coach in the body? What and where do we coach in the body? How do we coach in the body? And then that's how the book kind of came to fruition.
Oh, that's so fascinating. And I think you're right. I think we're just scratching the surface of what we now know, and it's becoming more common. I don't think that people didn't know it or that no one knew it before. It just wasn't common knowledge. I think that we saw everything as separate entities, right? So my health is over here and my mental health is over here and my, job is over here, but it's all so interconnected. So what advice would you have for our audience as kind of a starting place, right? If you're just now realizing the connection between your success and your health and in how you carry yourself, what would be kind of a step one for our humans listening?
Well, we talk about literally our physical shape. Our physical shape determines how we see the world. So if my shape is contracted, I see a world differently than if my shape is expansive. So first of all, just being aware of your body. And see, if you go back to being a kid, we do PE in grade school and all those things, but we don't make the connection at that level that how we show up matters. But we go back old school, our grandparents used to tell us stand up straight, right?
Yep.
Put both feet on the ground, right? In the military, we learned how to speak from our diaphragm, all these things. And so it is such a great place to learn. And a lot of times people that do disciplines like yoga or martial arts or dance, that somatic awareness, and they can kind of see like, oh, how I show up somatically matters. And then in those practices, we can just start practicing in our body.
Well, and I've seen it. I've seen it work myself. I know how I show up, and I know how I feel when I show up the way, this way versus that way. And
Mhm.
it's a power we hold that I'm not sure everybody has tapped into. And I know you originally, when we first started talking, tied that to joy. So let me ask you my favorite question. If you
Mhm.
had to define productive joy, how would you define it?
So I am a student of flow states, Mihai, Csikszentmihalyi, and flow. And so it is a somatic state,
Hmm.
right? Elite performers in that moment when they're all is well, the body is just this beautiful orchestra doing what it does. And for me, I tell people one of my favorite things to do in the world is to get up early and go outside and feed the animals.
Hmm.
Because especially this time of year or the fall, because it's crisp air, it's cold, a little bit cold. You can feel it. I'm outside and I get dogs to pet and I can smell things and my body just comes alive.
Hmm.
And in my case, I walk out and in Albuquerque, we have the Sandia Mountains. So the sun is usually just starting to show. And so it's visual, it's audio, I can feel it, I can sense it. And it just, I, that's why I get up at 4 in the morning. I don't actually need an alarm clock.
Hmm.
I can just get up and I go outside and I'm like, wow, my body comes alive. Even if it's really cold, or even if I'm tired, or even if something's going on, that's where I find joy every morning. And then it's like my cup is filled and the day is great.
Well, you can pour from a cup that's been filled, right? And so
Yeah.
that flow state is filling your cup, then you're not empty. So
Yeah.
I've been doing this. I think you're going to be like episode, I don't know, 265 or something.
Mhm.
And I always ask this question. I don't ever get exactly the same answer, but flow is something that has become a theme. And that
Yeah.
flow state when you're exactly where you're supposed to be, time doesn't seem to matter. You're just kind of
Mhm.
you're in the moment. But I think some people really struggle to get there. Do you have any advice for helping people find that flow state for themselves? For you, it's outside, it's early morning, but do you have any advice for people who are trying to figure that out for
Yeah.
themselves?
I am a big proponent of practice. And so I do a lot of practices. In fact, to the level that I've changed my vocabulary and I'm really practicing everything.
Mm,
And so I allow this, why I love being in practice is it allows the space not to be perfect. But also if I step back and start to go, well, what are my practices? And whatever I practice, I'm good at. So if I practice not getting off the couch, I'm good at it.
mhm.
This isn't a dig on somebody that's doing that. The f- the flip side of that is if I want to find flow, I have to start practicing it.
Yeah.
And it becomes a practice, right? So it's the daily reps, but not every one of those is a flow state.
Mhm.
Not every one of them is going to work out, but it is a practice. And the more we practice, so I just challenge people a lot of times in coaching, what are your practices? And what we'll find, we do some somatic exercises. And what they find when they're in kind of a lower point is what they've been practicing is a mood of resignation.
Mm.
Now, for the last 3 months, they've been practicing and they're good at it. They're so good at it, they can't even see that they're in that mood.
I,
So,
this
well,
resonates. Okay, keep talking. I'm sorry.
yeah. So, what they have to do is, well, what new practices could we start? And a lot of times, the practices are very simple. They're just somatic practice, right? So, yeah, it's the idea of instead of worrying about running a marathon, what if your practice today is just put on your running shoes,
Yeah. Yeah.
just go outside,
Yeah.
right? And even if you just go to the end of the driveway and go, it's too cold, go back in, celebrate that because you're practicing. And then tomorrow, do it again.
Mhm.
But we are what we practice, and including moods and emotions.
Yeah.
And most people spend, or many people spend much of their life in a mood of resentment.
Mhm.
I would even say right now, and I'm not into the politics, but I would love to see a magazine cover that says, look at the mood we're in.
Yeah.
Right? In our discourse, moods and emotions are what we call like predisposition to action. That's how I see the world.
Mhm. Mm-hmm.
right? Well, if Donald Trump is X, and I'm not getting into the politics, if he's X, now I'm going to see all of the X,
Yeah.
right? And I know people that in the emotions they're in,
Mm-hmm.
they don't see them as emotions; they see them as fact.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This is the way it is. No, you don't understand. This is what. No, this is the way you are.
Yeah.
I was coaching somebody last week, and I was talking about how the event was actually neutral, and they couldn't get that. No, no, it isn't. You don't understand. It's not neutral. Yes, it is. It's just an event. It's the story we create around the event, which either creates joy or creates misery.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm kind of paraphrasing, but pain is physical, suffering is a choice,
Ooh.
right? Because we choose moods and emotions. And anybody that ever disagrees with that, I tell them, here's my only request. Go read the book, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. And if the listeners don't know, Frankl was a Jewish psychiatrist who ended up in Auschwitz. And if you think your life sucks, that news, you're not in Auschwitz. But
No.
what he determined was his captors, he could not control that he was there.
Mm-hmm.
He could not. And he could not control if he lived. But he could control if he found joy and happiness.
Yep.
And what he said is, I'm going to find joy today. And that joy could have been a sunrise, made it through another day. That's what I'm going to celebrate. It was a flower coming out of a crack.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And so the whole point of his book was Man's Search for Meaning. Those that found meaning found joy or happiness, regardless of the external.
Mm-hmm.
So many people have X to be happy.
Yeah.
This car, this situation, Donald Trump is or isn't president, all those things. Happiness, to your point, is internal.
Yeah.
It's how I see the world. So I always challenge people, what are your stories, right? Because, well, side note, my fundamental training is in what's called ontological coaching. Ontology is the study of being human. We fundamentally have two models that we look at. The first is what we call the OAR model. The A stands for action, the R stands for results. So as human beings, we take actions, we get results. But what we focus on is the O in the OAR, which is called the observer.
Sure.
The observer I am sees and takes actions and gets results. So a simple analogy, let's say you said, Croft, I want to run a marathon. Right. You hate running. And how much action are you likely going to take? What results are you likely to get? So we focus on the action. I buy a book on running, but I still hate running. Mm-hmm. We look then at the idea of, well, what makes us the observer we are? We fundamentally look at three things. As human beings, we are linguistic beings. We live in language. Language is the fundamental human technology. It's in language that we make stories. There's the phenomenon, and then we create stories.
Yeah.
Right? And then we're linguistic. The second thing is we're emotional, with moods and emotions being a predisposition to action. And then thirdly, we have a body. We're somatic. And those three, how I show up somatically, emotionally, linguistically, determine what I see. So I see the world not as it is. I see the world as I am.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And go back to that idea. If I see the world through joy, oh, there's beauty. I see it through resentment, resignation. There's not.
Yeah. Okay. First of all, Croft, you are fascinating. And it is clear that you have embodied this message, this idea, this recognition, and you've lived it. And when you've lived something, then you can share it with others. So kudos to you for what you preach and for turning it into something that others can hold on to. I think there is power in that. And what you just said really resonated with me. And that's, we see the world as we are, right? Like I see the world as I am. You know, I made a choice back when my parents divorced when I was 19 and it rocked my world. And I made a choice to find the good in every day. I don't know what made me do it. I have no idea. All I know is that I tried to fill a journal with 3 lines with good things during that year. Worst year of my life, arguably. And yet I couldn't fit all my good things on those 3 lines by the end of the year because it shifted my focus. And that's ultimately what you're saying. And that has remained a practice for me, hence productive joy, right? Like I look for the good and I find it because I'm looking for it, not because the bad isn't there. And people have said, okay, well, there's that toxic positivity or why, there's still bad things. I'm not ignoring that. I'm choosing not to focus on that because when I focus on that, then I become that. So I love the research behind what you've done and the recognition that it is a full body experience that we get to have, or we can be forced into because we decided, to fold in on ourselves and find the bad. I talk about this a lot with my kids. My kids are 24 and they're 25 because this is May 12th. And they are in that stage of life where they have to make that distinction. And I'm working really hard with them, as the parent of adult children, that's hard, but to help them see it for themselves, because that's the other thing. This is a choice you have to make. Each person has to make. I cannot make it for my husband. I cannot make it for my children. I can only make it for me. So you help people create joy, essentially. You help people create the world that they need. How do people find you? What's the best way for our listeners to get a little more Croft Edwards in their world?
Well, the good news for me, growing up, Croft was not a name that anybody had.
That is a
so
unique one.
I got called Clark and Chuck and Carlos and whatever else, right? So the good news is there's probably, if you Google Croft Edwards, there's only one.
Yeah.
But the book, I have a webpage, thelookwhataccordion.com, which is about the book. My company is called croftandcompany.com. And then from a business perspective, I'm on LinkedIn at Croft Edwards, or Twitter is at Croft Edwards kind of thing. So I'm fairly easy to find, again, because there's not many of me, which growing up wasn't a good thing, but now it's,
Well, and I want to know the history behind your name. Do you know how you ended up the Croft?
Dude, so here's a little bit of the irony. A Croft is a small shared farm in Scotland. So crofters what they would do is they'd have a big piece of land and each one would have a little piece, but they would share pastures and so on and so forth. Turns out my family, my DNA is supposedly 51% Scottish. My family I know is from there. So it comes from that perspective. But my great grandfather was John Croft Edwards, which my first name's John. And then my grandmother named my father John C. Edwards. He didn't like the name Croft. And then I'm not entirely convinced my mom didn't name me John Croft Edwards just to take a ding. But my grandmother used to say, well, I was the only living John Croft Edwards at the time. Bless her heart. So it's a family name. And I just always been Croft. In the Army, for a while, I went by John, but it just felt so vanilla. So when I hear John, I'm like, really? I don't,
No, that's not.
The plan is, I've got my daughters. The plan is the grandkids are going to call me Croft.
That's sweet.
You can call me Croft, yeah.
So you have daughters. You have 2.
I do. I have 3.
You have 3. And one of them is about to go to Embry-Riddle, which is a big deal. Yes. So she's studying to be a pilot. What are the other 2 up to?
So my oldest just graduated last May from Alabama. And so she works at Houston for a financial services company. Hopefully, if all goes well, she'll be in a new role, which is in social media and stuff like that. She's pretty excited. My middle is a junior at the University of Alabama. And she's studying management, HR, that kind of thing, figuring out. Kind of fun. My middle is my executive assistant. So it works out great. And then my oldest has said she might want to go down this path. We'll see. So.
Okay, hold on. There is an Auburn University diploma behind your head, and your 2 daughters went to Alabama. How does that happen?
Yes. I failed as a parent.
You did. Goodness, sir.
Yes.
That's not okay.
And for as long as they've been going to school, Alabama's beaten Auburn in football. So, and it was 3 years ago, Auburn was up with 12 seconds left and Alabama won. And I had my daughter and I was like, and then she turned around and beat me. So but it'll come.
It will. Just be patient. I just know that that's a rivalry unlike most, right? Like that. So you are either in the Alabama or the Auburn camp. You are not in both. So, well, I'm sorry that you had to endure that, but I know you're incredibly proud of your girls.
I am. Yes, I'm a dad girl. So yeah, or girl dad.
Girl
Whatever.
dad, girl
So,
dad.
yes. Yeah. There we go. So yeah, very proud.
That's awesome. Well, Croft, I could talk to you all day, and I know that people wouldn't continue to listen. So you and I can continue this offline, but I have some rapid fire questions for you. If you
Okay.
can.
Let's do it.
Here we go. First question. What's your definition of fun?
Well, with my family, but if I'm selfish, it's being outside with something in my hands, building something, feeding something. Yeah, that's where
That
I'm
doesn't surprise
at.
me.
Yeah.
After
Yeah.
your beginning, that makes a lot of sense. Do you have a favorite animal?
My favorite animal probably is a chicken. My favorite sound in the entire world is roosters crowing, and I have, I don't know, 6 or 8 roosters around the farm, and it's to the point. It's just like music.
Oh, that's funny. I hope
So
that your wife agrees and that.
well, it's not you can't really you don't even I don't even know they're there anymore, but I love the sound of
Oh, that's
it's just
fun.
like, oh, this is a barnyard.
I am where I'm supposed to be. That's so fun. I don't
Yeah.
know that I've ever asked that. I mean, I don't ask that question often, but I don't know that I've ever met someone whose favorite animal was a chicken. I think my daughter might agree with you though. She loves a good chicken. Like she just
Yeah.
likes to hold it, and especially the ones with the crazy hair and all the things. Okay.
Yeah.
How do you know that you are showing up as your authentic self?
Ooh, that's a great question because what is authentic,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because we aren't actually authentic unless we were taught to be this way. So we are historical beings, right? So I could say I'm authentic, but I spent 25 years in the army being taught how I'm supposed to act.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know that I can answer that because I don't know what is authentic, but I'm also, I like me. So I'm just me, right? So
I adore that.
yeah,
I
in
think
our
that's a
village,
powerful answer.
yeah, people in our town or people I meet, they're like, oh, where you live. I'm like, well, if you go in the Bosque, the place with emus. They're like, yeah, that's me. So, and as a kid, though, I was always kind of that weird kid that raised animals, and I didn't know how to share that because that wasn't normal as a kid. And now everybody knows. We have family friends that, Croft, you got to come over. There's a snake in the backyard. I don't know how they ride over, or So I've been called many a time, or 3 in the morning. Hey, we've got an issue. Could you come? And yeah,
Do you have
I'll be
any
right
animals you
over.
don't like? Are there any that you're like, thank you?
No, yeah, it's a little side note. It's my emus right now. I have 2 emu males on eggs. And when the chicks hatch, the males become absolute jerks.
Oh no.
So there'll be a time here in about a month where I'll be like, yeah, I don't really like emus because I go out and literally I'm duking it out with an emu. And people have walked by and one of the neighbors, that's harsh. I'm like, do you want to step in here? This guy is violent, but they're just protecting their chicks. So maybe like I would say I don't like emus necessarily if I have to go in and wrestle with one, but I have yet to lose to an emu.
But and you liked them enough to have them. So I suppose there's that.
Yes, my wife not so much.
Hope somebody will film you because I feel like that is a sitcom all in and of itself is you versus the emu.
I've actually done a few and sent them to my nephews. Love them because they're like, oh, wow, Uncle Kraft wrestling with an emu. Didn't really have a choice. He was attacking me.
Right, and I'm gonna win. Okay.
That's right.
How do you channel your best self on your worst days?
That actually, I take pride in the sense that in my 20 plus years of being a leadership coach and consultant, I don't think I can find a coachee or a client that would say something was off with you today. So I've gotten very good at the practice of showing up. Now I may notice and go, oh, I'm in this coaching call, I'm a little distracted, but I don't know that any of my clients would say, yeah, he was just mailing it in. So I practice very much showing up. Sometimes my family, they'll say, boy, you're cranky. Yeah, because for the last 10 hours, I've been in these deep conversations where I had to show up. And right now I just want to go outside and
wrestle an emu
out in the fields. Yeah, wrestle an emu and get it out. It's funny you say that because I have daughters. And my nephews, when I see them, and they're now in their 20s and 30s, it's just like we pound on each other because I just need that. And I don't get that a lot unless I'm wrestling with an emu. So,
Oh my goodness. Well, that is just all of it is just fascinating. And I love it. And I love that you came full circle with the practice part
Mhm.
because, you said that earlier that we have to practice everything that we want to be good at or just do. And we have practices that we are doing by default instead of by design. And we can. Okay, last question, tough question, because so many great things have been said today. You are a wealth of knowledge, and it is clear to me that we all need to get the liquid accordion so that we can learn more from you and be a part of that space. But by nature, our brains will only hold on to one major idea in a 30-minute time frame. So what's the major idea you want to leave people with today, Croft?
That we are liquid accordions. We have bodies. We are not brains on a stick.
Mm.
And if I want to make change, the easiest path I've found is to change my body.
Mm.
The challenge with trying to change my story is stories become circuitous.
Oof.
We always get back to the story. But if I shift my body, the story has to change.
Mm.
So if you want to change your story, don't worry about the story, change your body.
Wow, there's power in those words, Croft. Thank you. And listeners, my goodness,
Thank you.
you got a masterclass today in all things how to handle ourselves and how to shift our reality to what we want it to be instead of what it's become because we're practicing the wrong things. So thank you for being here today. We are so glad.
Thank you, Christie. Yes.
This was
Thank
fun.
you.
This was fun. Okay,
Awesome.
and listeners, you know what I'm going to challenge you with. It's not enough just to listen because if you just listened, then this was a nice 30 minutes instead of being a productive one. So what are you going to take away today? What's the thing that you're going to recognize? Is it that you're going to walk into a room shoulders back because you realize how much power that has? Or are you going to start practicing the things that you want to get better at instead of practicing the things that are not making you better? Or maybe you're going to go get the book. I don't know what your action step's going to be, but I need you to take one because otherwise this was just a nice way to spend time and I want it to be a great way to spend time. And today and every day, I need to challenge you to figure out a way to turn fun into action.